There is usually a big debate which movies help get you in the mood for the Halloween spirit. But there's also an even bigger debate within the Halloween movie franchise as to which Halloween movie reigns supreme. Now, it's safe to say there is a clear winner within this debate, but let's be fair and give credit where it's due as we talk about the 1978 classic Halloween, directed by John Carpenter, and Rob Zombie's Halloween, released in 2007. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button and be sure to subscribe for future updates. Okay, so we know the premise of both movies. Young Mikey murders his sister and her boyfriend on Halloween night. He's locked away for years and years, until he escapes and continues his rampage on, you guessed it, Halloween night. Now, having rewatched both films over the past few days, my reaction shifted in a way that was unexpected. So here are a few highlights that I made. Stylistically, these two movies could not be more opposite in tone. For a very long time, I had a level of distaste for Rob Zombie's version. The 2007 movie in many ways was brutal, grungy, and a full-on gore fest. John Carpenter's approach was more subtle, focusing more on the atmosphere and suspense. It didn't require a high body count. There was a lot more mystery to Michael Myers, which I will get to in a second. Having said that, given Rob Zombie's directing and his style, parts of it actually worked for his take on Halloween. If anyone is making a reboot of the Halloween movies, do you really want an exact replica of what's been done? Or do you want to make it as crazy as possible? Looking back at the early 2000s, there were constant horror remakes going on. Texas Chainsaw Massacre in 2003, Amityville Horror in 2005, and Black Christmas in 2006. It was inevitable to think that after the lackluster Halloween Resurrection, film studios were looking to see how Michael Myers could claw his way back to the big screen in a new way. I give Rob kudos for attempting to make something completely different than what most Halloween fans come to expect. But once you really start slicing both movies to see who cuts deeper, the 2007 movie fails in comparison for a lot of reasons. Quite a bit of the dialogue in the 2007 version felt a bit forced or unnatural with key characters. The first 5 minutes actually turned me away the first time I watched it. In particular, the scene when Michael Myers' mom is downstairs having an argument with his stepfather. When his sister comes downstairs for breakfast, the stepdad is blatantly making a pass at her in front of her mother. Meanwhile, little Mikey is upstairs killing animals. At first I thought, what am I watching? I couldn't take the movie seriously. I found myself not being invested in any of the characters, including Laurie. However, her character got a bit more interesting in the sequel. It got me thinking that perhaps for the first film, Rob Zombie was trying to appease fans of the original by having several frame-by-frame comparisons. Come to think of it, Halloween 2 was a lot more stylized than the first. It felt like that was what he had in mind from the get-go. This grainy, raw, no-holds-barred psychological thriller. Going back to the original, the characters were a lot more likable. Laurie Strode and her friends felt like real teenagers, living in quiet suburbia until Michael shows up, stalking them one by one. Which leads me into what's probably the main reason why fans resent the 2007 film. The original Halloween was essentially a blank canvas for Michael Myers. We knew absolutely nothing about him. Why would a 6-year-old boy, inexplicably, stab his sister to death with a huge kitchen knife? That was the mystery. Rob Zombie decided to give us some backstory, which I appreciate, painting the narrative that Michael Myers came to be due to circumstances. From the opening scene, his family is presented as being trashy, by having his mom work as a stripper to support the family. His stepfather is an alcoholic, abusive, and a homophobe. His older sister is verbally abusive, not to mention he's being bullied at school. For this, Rob Zombie gets major credit for giving Michael Myers some level of humanity. Watching it recently, I started thinking it could have been a great character study. Some audiences want to know, or why does someone turn evil? The need for subtext. With a runtime of almost 2 hours, we spent about 45 minutes watching Michael Myers locked up in an institute. Adding Laurie and her friends in the second hour almost seemed pointless. Perhaps Rob Zombie should have used new characters, or at least have different names altogether, to really set it apart from the original. Now, in my opinion, because we got to know who Michael was in the 2007 film, the fear factor was lost. I knew the man behind the mask. In John Carpenter's story, we were left for basically the entire movie trying to assess who is behind this mask. Michael was later known to be the Shape, or the Boogeyman, because he was precisely that. He didn't say a word for the entire movie, just simply stalking, hiding, plotting, and killing. Although there weren't a lot of jump scares, There is a sense of realism with John Carpenter's movie, on so many levels that made it much more effective. Now, shockingly, a lot of people say it's not scary, and in fact some call the movie boring. To a degree, I can understand that since there aren't many jump scares. Comparing a horror movie from the 1970s to what modern horror audiences are used to these days makes sense. Some folks like or need jump scares even if they don't make any sense. Who are these people? I don't want to know, but what I do know is having a good balance makes a difference. There are some effective scenes I did enjoy in Rob Zombie's film, in particular when Michael embodies who he will become later on by wearing his white mask. The scene I'm referring to is the shot of him in the hallway wearing this mask with a kitchen knife in his hand as he slowly walks behind his sister, slicing her. Quite the contrast compared to the original, which shows very little blood. I tried my best to find good qualities about Rob Zombie's film, and I did, but overall, John Carpenter's Halloween is more refined of the two, and it sliced its way to the top, making it a true standout and horror movie classic.